Hello and welcome to an episode of the Manufacturing Leaders podcast with me, Mark Bracknell, Managing Director of Theo James Recruitment. Today, welcome on Gary Sheader, the founder and Managing Director of the Manufacturers Alliance. This was an episode which I thoroughly enjoyed and quite different to our typical episodes. Typically, we go through a leader's journey, a journey of building a business within manufacturing. This is quite different. The Manufacturers Alliance work closely with leaders within manufacturing, so a niche right up the street of this podcast. But actually what we talked about was what they did, but a little bit different. So we talked about the generational change of leadership and how emotional intelligence is now a big part of that. But actually, the importance of realigning and reaffirming what someone's values and purpose is, both themselves authentically and their business. And that brought us on to conversations of the retreats that Gary does and what people can potentially do to go through their own personal progression. And that could be cold therapy, that could be meditation, that could be journaling. And we go into some of the specifics that Gary and I have both used during our recent times to sort of help our own mentality. And I really feel like this is one of those episodes where it felt quite powerful and it felt like it might change the trajectory of someone's journey if they just listen and really start to do some self-analysis and hopefully realign their own values and purpose. And so thank you, Guy, for this. It was really powerful. I really enjoyed it. It took a lot away myself. And please just like and subscribe and help sort of share the channel. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the episode. Massive warm welcome day to Gary Sheader. Gary's the founder and MD of the Manufacturers Alliance, based in Salford. Gary, is that right?
Based in Bolton. Yeah, not far from Salford. Yeah, near Manchester.
Nice, good stuff, mate. Excellent. I'm looking forward to this one. So we've got some nice meaty stuff to talk about, which I can't wait to be told. But first question, same question as everyone, which we've just had a good laugh about there. Which is, what does it mean to you to be a leader? What do you say?
Um, I think there's leaders in terms of titles, which definitely isn't me. I think I've always wanted to create environments where people can be at the best and ideally find something that's meaningful and purposeful to them. But whatever that is really. So all my career, I've never really chased. I always wanted to grow and develop. I've never chased a title. I've never wanted, or some kind of big leadership title. So it's always been about people for me, and just helping other people to thrive, to learn, to grow, um, to connect with something. And I mean, what a magical thing to do if people can come to work and they're happy, thriving, doing something that's really enjoyable, then it's brilliant, isn't it? I think if you're in a team where everyone's that's the kind of ultimate goal, isn't it, for any team?
100%. I mean, every conversation I've had with you, I've had a really good long conversation, before this, and I'm just caught up there. I read your LinkedIn before, and what you just said there really resonated because, well, it's obvious that you care about what you do, if that makes sense, which not everyone does. And I guess it's to pick the point you just made there, that some people just want the title, particularly sort of years gone by, they wanted to be a leader because they thought that's what a good career should look like. It's evident from you that you do your work because of your values and your purpose. And I think probably purpose is the best word. Can you remember a time where you thought, right, I need to do something which aligns more to me and my values? Or was that a natural progression to kind of find what you do now, which you've been doing for what, 12, 13 years in
Mm.
total?
Um, I think I've always been a learner. I think in my teens I lost my way a little bit with it. I think like a lot of people do.
Yeah.
You kind of see the light in beer and stuff. And yeah, so I think I just went off piste a little bit, and I stopped learning really for a while. But yeah, it didn't take me long really. Well, I had some friends actually that I worked with. I was in my kind of mid-20s maybe, that handed me a couple of books to read, and it just got me back into it again. I read a couple of books which well at the time they were books on lean manufacturing, quite old books.
Can you remember the titles out of interest?
In Search of Excellence
Yeah,
was one. Um, and lean thinking
nice.
was the other. Yeah, so yeah, I started reading again, and I just got the bug again to because I mean I like reading, I like listening to podcasts, I like learning, but I like doing something with it.
Yeah,
It doesn't really
yeah,
stop there for me. I get if I get bored with a book and I think I'm a couple of chapters in and I can't see anything I can grab hold of and apply it, I've just
yeah,
bin it off because it's
yeah. Life's
like
too short. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So to me, it's about the application of it. So it's probably it's always been a slow progression, I think. I've always wanted to enjoy work, if I'm being honest. I've never really seen the point in doing something that I didn't enjoy. Even when you're providing for your family, you're still giving up a lot of your time and energy and effort, aren't you?
yeah.
When you go out to work. So I think I've always recognized if I'm not enjoying it to change something. And sometimes that's been within the business that I've been in,
Mhm.
that there's a change needed. And sometimes it's meant, go off and do something else and try something new. Um but I think there was a moment with I suppose like the coming up to the starting the journey with the Manufacturers Alliance,
Yeah,
whether there are a few worlds met, I suppose, in I suppose my own personal values and things that were happening around me at the time. That there was someone that I got to know that she lost a daughter to a congenital heart disease, and she wanted to raise some money for charity. At the time, so we're probably going back about 15 years. I didn't really know anything about fundraising or how you do it, but I just said if you need any help, I'm happy to help. I think one of the first things I did a 5K, but like running to me. I hadn't done any running since I was at school, and like running was a punishment to me because it's like when I was
yeah.
at
It's pain.
school, yeah,
Yeah,
it was like our teachers would wait till it was snowing,
yeah, yeah.
and then they'd say, "Right, get your shorts and vest on, we're going for
Get
a
the
run, lads."
PTSD of that.
So it was like when I left school, it was like I'm never running again.
Yeah,
But I did, and I did a 5K to raise some funds, and then she said, "What about running an event? You've got lots of contacts in manufacturing. Could we put an event on and do that?" So I did that. It wasn't really my thing, like networking and that kind of stuff. It's just like no. But I thought I'll do it. It's for a good cause. So we did it, and people enjoyed it, and we carried that on. So I think there were a few things all met at the same point. It was meaningful and I was helping people. So then when we were running these networking events every month, we always invited a charity in. So it just felt like the right thing to do, that to give the local charities a voice, stuff some money in a pot, 10 quid, 20 quid, whatever you feel. And then we give that money to the charity. But it was also helpful to the manufacturing businesses that were coming along in. We'd invite speakers in and we just have pie and peas and a natter, and we'd have someone come in who'd just share a few things that would be helpful to people in the room. So there was I've always been in manufacturing, so I was with my people, my community of people. I was helping them. People were learning, we're bringing some different people in. So it's like lots of things that all just kind of met at
yeah,
that point,
yeah,
really, which kind of sparked the journey that kind of kicked the Manufacturers Alliance off.
yeah. And it's a journey obviously you've been on some time, and obviously work with a lot of leaders. It's interesting what you said about that 5K piece as well, because you did that 5K because you had purpose. Your
Mm,
purpose was to raise money, which gets you out on those cold days and those dark mornings where you don't want to do it. And you can tie that in, can't you, to work? To sometimes we need a goal and we need something to some greater good or some purpose to get us to stretch beyond what we think we can do at the time. Because I'd imagine if someone said to you, "Do you fancy doing a 5K?" You probably said, "No, not for me." But obviously, you must have found it easier in a way because there was no way you were going to quit because that was your goal.
Yeah, because you're raising money for charity, aren't you? And even though I wasn't enjoying it, and so many mornings, it just crosses your mind where you think, "Oh, there's got to
What
be
else
a
to
way
do?
out of this."
Yeah.
I didn't because the fundraising had started. I told people, I was doing it, so
Uh-huh.
you can't not do it then.
Yeah.
But I'm super grateful. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to do it because I carried on. I think it helped me to work on my mindset in a different way. I
Yeah.
think there's self-talk that I had around I'm not a runner. I can't run.
Mhm.
I could never do that. I'd got beyond that. I didn't get a particularly good time in my 5K. And I suppose time didn't become a thing really in any of my running.
Yeah, that wasn't your goal. Yeah.
Yeah, but I carried the running on. So I took my running to doing ultras. So I went all the way up to kind of half marathons and then marathons, and then
Amazing.
went beyond the marathon distance. So and if I
Yeah.
hadn't have done
Yeah.
the port in the charity, I would have never have
It's
done
the
that
quote in
journey.
it.
Yeah.
The journey of 1,000 miles starts at the one step, wherever it is. You know what I mean? It's you've got to start somewhere, haven't you? I think you're right. You're 100% right though. People see themselves as something and see themselves as not something just
Mm.
because they've never done it. But you don't get there overnight. If someone said to you at the time, do an ultra, it had taken. Do you know what I mean? You'd probably thought, well, it's
Yeah,
impossible.
you just say, yeah, you couldn't do
Can't
that.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not for me. Yeah. It's no, I understand. Out of all the work you've done with the Manufacturers Alliance, and this is, I'd love to ask your thoughts on this because even doing this podcast for the last 4 years, I can see a clear change in leadership, and I can see the trends, and I can see emotional intelligence coming out, and I can see people getting into leadership for different reasons now. What difference have you seen, or what shift have you seen, and let's say within manufacturing leadership over the last 10, 15 years? Have you seen a shift and a change?
Well, I probably have in my little bubble. I think in my own kind of lived experience, I have, with the people I'm around. But I also hear, stories from people in other networks that
Yeah.
are not experiencing the same as
Okay.
I am. But yeah, I think where I've seen a shift, which it is typically when the old guard are leaving, if I'm being honest. The shift is usually when, if it's a family business, the dad or the mum, whoever is moving on, and then the young
Yep.
next generation come through, and then you see a step change, in the style of
Hmm.
leadership, which is more in tune with
Or
more,
generational, I guess.
yeah, more modern
Yeah.
thinking. They want to embrace tech. They're much more about people, and they'll get to a point, won't they, where the
Hmm.
next generation coming
Yeah.
through will be saying, "Get them out," and then
Yeah. It's
let's
all about AI now. Yeah.
let's modernize. So yeah, so yeah, I think there's always that shift, but I would say, yeah, if there are things that are shifting or they need to, it would be around embracing tech and people, which the people and culture and leading better seems to have always been there, really.
Hmm.
Um, I was looking this morning, just having a bit of a ponder on, just some of the trends, and there was the McLeod report. So this is 2009, I think. So this was like a government piece of research into productivity in the UK,
Hmm.
and what do we need to do in this country to improve productivity? And the nub of it was there was a correlation between employee engagement and productivity. The higher employee engagement is, the higher the productivity is in a business. Okay, so what do we
Makes
do about
sense.
that? So there
Hmm.
was and I think it was titled "Engage for Success," and it was fantastic. It was a brilliant report, lots of clear direction in terms of what we need to do. But then it kind of fizzles away. Years pass by, a decade passes by, and you think, whatever happened to that? And then there was a Made Smarter review, which was led by Jürgen Meyer, which found the same things. So there was the kind of digital bit that came from Jurgen, from his background with Siemens, but he also identified leadership needs to improve within manufacturing, to get the productivity output
Yeah,
that we need. So that seems to be something that
it's a
we never
theme.
seem to have ever really fully resolved, like as a country,
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
kind of great leadership in this country.
I think it's because there's always, right now, I guess manufacturing is probably going through more change than it has done in a long, long time. We're
Mm,
seeing companies that either changing because they need to or changing because they want to, but they're going through drastic change in some situations where they're cutting their payroll, they're cutting their headcount, they're moving towards automation. The margins are getting squeezed. All this type of stuff. And it's almost like they have the luxury to go, well, we've got to look at staff engagement, but actually everything like you say, it all comes back to that. But in the
mm,
moment, when a leader's looking for the P&L, or they're just going, right, they need to do this, do that, they're then going, well, we need to buy this bit of kit because that'll reduce this. Where actually, it sounds like the real step change still will always have to be the engagement of staff and how you're gonna work with them. It's just a weird moment now, isn't it? Are you
mm.
seeing a lot of change in your network? What do you say?
Yeah, well, I suppose within the manufacturers alliance, that's the core of it. Everyone's a learner. Everyone's keen to change.
Yeah, yeah, they're there 'cause they want.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
get involved with us because they want change. Like personally and for the team and their organisation. So we're lucky, really. So we're surrounded by people who are on that
yeah,
change journey. Not that it's easy, and there's lots of challenges and blockers and things
yeah,
people need to work through. But they're on it, and that's what they want. And I think it's unfortunate we just have a way of approaching this in quite a reactive way. I think some people are probably a bit too late to
yeah,
react to it, that you're never going to catch it up.
yeah.
You've stopped investing in capital equipment. You haven't trained your people for at least a decade.
Yep.
Well, if you've lost that much ground, it's then, trying to catch up when
Hmm.
other people in the sector have gone 10
Yeah.
years ahead of you. It's a
There's always
losing
that gap.
battle, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%, exactly that. What would if a company joined your lines now and perhaps were behind the step change and that they've just gotten on the fact they need to do something, otherwise they're going to be in trouble. What do you think are the first things that you would work with them on to, what would it be, I guess, to start that step change? Because it's not an overnight thing, is it? That's going
Mm.
to take some time to do.
Well, that's what I admit you've got a problem. It has to be the start with it. I think coming along to one of our peer groups or leadership development programs and pretending you've got it all nailed on and everything's okay. That's just not going to help, is it?
Yeah,
For us, we need authenticity. We need,
a humility piece.
yeah, you
Yeah,
need people who show up and say, these bits were brilliant at, but for being honest, these
yeah,
bits are not, and we need some help. And I mean, there might be some blind spots that people are not aware of, but I think typically people do know where they're struggling. They might not have a solution for it, but come
yeah.
come along and just be honest.
Which I think segues in nicely because I guess there's a lot of companies out there who work purely on leadership, purely on the strategy side, they're purely on the lean side, they look at automation. What you do is that and more, and it's probably the more bit I want to talk about because you do something which you're passionate about and aligns to your vision, your purpose, which is to do exactly that, to try to reaffirm and get them to understand their own values and their purpose. And you do that in
Mm,
quite an authentic way, by the sounds of it, which I'm really interested in because I think people will be interested in how you do that. But actually, I'm sure there'll be lessons that they can learn that they can start their own journey, initially before doing something as big as that. Talk me through the retreats, Gary, and what
mm.
happens on there and the realizations people tend to come out with off that.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think we've talked about this before. Like, our retreats are a bit of a secret, and we don't we
Oh,
don't we don't tell anyone. But
yeah,
but yeah, I think we've got to get better at that. So for our peer groups, every year we go away and we have a couple of days away and we call it a retreat. And I suppose first time people come along, they think they're going to have, a dressing gown and slippers on and be sat in a spa all day. And yeah, it's not that kind of retreat.
Yeah,
It's quite they're intense couple of days. I suppose it's like just deep learning really,
yeah,
and it's learning about yourself, an opportunity in a safe space, with other like-minded people to be open and honest and get that, I suppose, real, genuine support from people who want to champion you as well. Over a couple of days with people who care about you, who'll listen, but also nudge you towards, maybe where you need to be going. So it's a reflective couple of days. But as I was saying with the book reading, there's there's got to be an output
hmm
as well. So it's yeah, there's some opportunities to reflect and learn about yourself, and we have some different ways of approaching that. But there's got to be a and so what to it. Because I think for our customers, I think just going off and reflecting for a couple of days, it wouldn't be beneficial, I'm sure, but they'd be kind of like, I need something
do not
tangible.
push outside the comfort zone, which ultimately, I guess, we need to be pushed outside of our comfort zone as
Mm.
leaders. I think to challenge ourselves. The whole point is we need to think differently, don't we? And realign something that's not in the right, not where it should be. I guess the moment.
Yeah, well, I think as we progress, with our careers, I think for some people they haven't been in a learning environment for quite
Yeah,
some time. So the retreats are good for that, to just get back into learning about yourself. What is it that I really want? What are my values? Sometimes they change, don't they?
yeah,
Over time, you reassess your values and they're a bit different than they were 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So and that's what, fulfillment, joy, passion, all the good things that come out of the things that you connect with, are when you connect through your values. I think when you're living and breathing your own values is when life just feels so much better. But if
yeah,
you don't
hundred
if you don't know
percent.
what they are and you don't ever
Yeah,
reflect on that,
yeah,
then
yeah,
you just jumping from one thing to another and saying, "Oh, it's not that, and it's not
yeah.
this."
Apologies for interrupting this episode with a very quick announcement about my business. Theo James are a specialist talent provider specifically to the manufacturing and engineering sector. I'm incredibly proud of what we've achieved since our inception in 2015. We specialize in roles from semi-skilled trades right the way up to our TJ exec search arm of the business, both from the contract and permanent side. We offer both bespoke one-off campaigns for hard-to-fill roles or a full partnership service where we become an extension of your business. For any information, please get in touch with me or the team. I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode. Thank you. I've seen, I think, you look at 20 years ago, people worked on themselves by reading books. That was the way
Mm.
people, when, this was the age before podcasts and the internet was as good as what it is, all this type of stuff. People read books and that worked. I'm seeing a different journey now for people that are self-development. You've seen
Mm.
people journaling, you've seen people meditating, you've seen people doing ice baths, you've seen people, I guess, get outside their comfort zone and challenge themselves. And people. I mean, I'll put myself in that boat. I'm a normal lad from Sheffield. I've all those things I've just said. I either do on a regular basis or I do from time to time to realign certain things. I never thought I'd be someone that did that. Have
Mm.
you seen that change, would you say, over the last sort of 5 years where people are on a slightly different, are forcing themselves almost to try to find what they feel like they want to find?
Yeah, I suppose that's partly what we force onto people. I suppose
Okay.
we, I think, particularly with the retreats, and I think even with some of the peer group meetings, some of the things we expose people to, you're not ever going to Google it or probably give it a go yourself unless someone
Yeah.
says it's right here now in front of you.
Yeah.
Get, you
Yeah,
know,
no
give
joke.
give it a go. So, for when we do the retreats, as you mentioned. we might do some meditation, but in a similar to yourself, I'm a working class lad from Bolton,
Yeah.
and I explain things in my Bolton accent
Yeah.
hopefully in an accessible way. I've been meditating for a long time, and I don't try and make it something that isn't. I just use simple language and try and explain it in a way that just helps people access it, and then they give it a go. And for a lot of people, it's the first time they've ever done it, and they're like, "Do you know what? I didn't expect that. If you'd have said we were
Yeah.
meditating, I'd have probably looked at a way of getting out of it.
Yeah.
But actually having the experience of it, I found some value in it, and I'm really glad I've given it a go. So I think that's why I was saying with the retreat stuff, we tend to keep things a secret because if we tell people what it is, they'll just
Yeah.
start
It's not.
overthinking it, and they'll just be
Yeah.
like, "Oh no, that's not going to work."
Yeah, yeah, it's that the element of surprise. No, I get that because I guess you're either with meditating, you're either in the camp of you're very much in it and you see the benefit,
Hmm.
or people just do that because they're just whatever. Do you know, again, it's talking yourself out of I'm not one of those people instead of just of. And actually, meditating is interesting because the first time you do it, you might find crap. Does nothing for me that until
Hmm.
you realize that it's actually a skill, and the whole point in meditating is you're not probably you're potentially not very good at clearing your mind because you're always thinking about the stuff. So the first 10 times you do it, you're probably going to be crap at it because the whole point, because you've not mastered the art of being able to calm your mind. And that's the whole point in it, I think. And even if you don't do it for then 3 months, you go back to not being able to clear your mind. And I've had
Yeah.
these conversations at work with my staff who struggle with certain things, and you do, sometimes because you just know thinking, but others when they do try it and they persist with it, it's amazing that the difference. Same with I've had cold showers for 3 years now. Try to tell someone struggling to jump in a cold shower. See what response you get. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. But like particularly when they're by themselves at home, it's different in a group environment, I guess, where it probably feels a bit safer in that sense. So there's a little bit of sort of mob mentality to do it together, I imagine.
Yeah. But I think in our world of manufacturing, I think people they want the evidence, don't they? They
Yeah,
want they want the evidence, they want the benefits. What's the point of it? And I think probably over the last 5 to 10 years, I think there's a lot more evidence. I think there's a lot more. Well, the evidence has probably always been there, but I think that there's a lot more of that that's out in the public domain
yeah,
of, like you say, cold showers, ice baths, meditating, journaling. It's not some kind of secret club anymore, is it? Or
no,
just things that Buddhists do.
yeah,
It's a lot, it's a lot more accessible. But it's no different to the 5K, is it? You know, it when you first start, it's hard, isn't it? And you just think, what's the point? It's
yeah,
rubbish this. And it just
yeah,
takes a while, doesn't it? And meditating's the same. To expect to do it once and connect with God or something, it's just not
yeah, yeah.
it's just
Exactly,
not going
yeah,
to happen, is it?
100%. And I don't know about you, but I meditate to feel calmer. I have cold showers because I hate doing them.
Hmm.
Personally, I know it sounds a bit like a bit sort of Instagrammy, but I do it for the sole reason that I don't want to do it. And then when I do it, I feel like, right, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. I've at least achieved something I didn't want to do, and it just makes the rest of the day a little bit easier. But
Yeah,
it's when I first started, 5 seconds was impossible. Do you know what I mean? I never thought I could ever get to 30 seconds. You just build it up. The whole point is you want to make it harder and harder to continually challenge yourself exactly at the 5K, because now for you to do a 5K now, easy, because you've done 50, you've done 60K runs. Do you know what I mean? But it's relevant to where you are at that moment in time, isn't it? Essentially.
yeah, yeah. So I think with ours, the types of things that we do around that, it's very much at the beginner stage, first time doing something. So
Yeah.
it's not, go in a shower for 5 minutes.
I know.
It would be like 5 seconds. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a dip a toe in, see, how the experience is, and what you could benefit from it. And then it's brilliant because I think for us, there's so many people who've adopted, certain practices. And I had one of our customers who wrote to me a couple of weeks ago, which was absolutely brilliant because it was a handwritten letter. We'd introduced them to a particular journaling technique on a retreat, and it's just been life changing.
Really?
And they wrote to me to just say not only that, I think, other things that, we've supported them with of just how life changing it's been. But it was good that they used that practice of,
Yeah.
writing a handwritten letter, which was very really moving actually to receive a handwritten letter from someone who's benefited so much. And it's just great if you can connect people with something, that really kind
Yeah.
of shifts them on.
Can you share any? Because journaling is something again which some people do, some people don't, and some people won't understand the benefits of it. Can you share any thoughts on to someone who's never journaled? Do
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like what? How would they start that process of and when would they? When do you think they would maybe start to see some results from it, but just feel something different, I guess, from it to some extent?
Um, I think one of the things it's helped me with is really reduce my overthinking. So if I went back like big increments, I went back 10 years, I probably just overthought everything, just too much. Well, actually, the first ever meeting that we had, so when I first launched the manufacturers alliance, the first ever peer group was a pilot, a taster. This may or may not work. A room full of manufacturing companies, and I'd scripted like literally from the moment I walked in to when I left. I'd wrote every word I was going to say. That's how much I was overthinking it. That I had
Yeah,
to have
yeah.
everything I was
Feel
going to
to
say
feel
at every
prepared.
every point.
Yeah.
And it made it worse because it's like as soon as you're off script,
Yeah.
you're like, I'm cocking this up. I mean, no one else knows you've got a script, do they? But so I think it's definitely helped with that. Um, so I think in terms of techniques that are useful, um, just writing down the things that are on your mind, which is something that we did on a recent retreat of right at the start of the couple of days. What are the things that you're, worried about, things that are bothering you? We have all got stuff, in life that what are some of the things that maybe you're carrying in to this couple of days? Um, just write it down, jot it down on a sheet of paper. And some people filled 2 sheets of A4, and some people had half a dozen things that they were worried about. And what we then did, just to, because it's the kind of giving the kind of monkey mind something to play with, we then gave people like what's just something really easy that's not in the slightest bit challenging that you could write against each of these things that you're worried about. So it might be, oh, I'm just fed up with where we live. We need to move. The house isn't big enough, or it's too big for us now. Whatever the reason is. So the immediate thing is people are already,
Solution mode. Yeah.
yeah, it's the 25 different things that need to be done, but just give yourself something really simple, like go and have a look on Rightmove, or whatever, something that's not overly taxing as your next step.
Mhm.
So write that against everything that's on your list, and then we'd like physically folded up that piece of paper, put it in a jar, and like literally left it at the door. So we're going to leave that jar at the door now for the next 2 days. But when we're leaving, when you say who wants these back, no, no one wanted it back. But it's just a technique that initially just gives you an opportunity to do a brain dump. Just
Yeah.
get the stuff that's on your mind out of your head and onto paper. And sometimes that might take 20, 30 minutes of just sitting there and have I got everything? Is everything out now? And I think for a lot of like logical people, engineers, people who like solving problems, once it's out there,
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
like, right, now I know what I'm dealing with. But when you leave it all up here and it's
Yeah.
all just whizzing round, it's all muddled up and clouded, it just very chattery, isn't it? It just
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
it doesn't stop.
Probably particularly for men. I mean, I've I journal from time to time now. I used to journal every day, and I've probably got I get like anything. I guess you decide what works for you, and I probably found that trap of going, I must have a cold shower every day. I must, and it almost became overwhelming. These things I feel
Mm,
like I must do, and then over time you find what routine works for you. Now I use it as a tool to do exactly what you just said there. To get the if me, it's too much stuff in my head, get it out because I think as blokes we're not great talkers. Like my wife's great at talking about stuff, and always says to me, "Never talk about work." I always go, "Well, I don't want to." Do you know what I mean? Like I quite like switching off, but actually there is some stuff there I need to just get out. And we had a personal family situation about a month ago, and it was her worry because her family, but it was worrying me. And actually, what helped me was just actually got my phone and just for half an hour just typed everything. Do you know what I mean? I just
mm,
felt better because that was my equivalent of what typically, traditionally, I'm stereotyping here, but what women are very good at when they
yeah.
get together and just talk. We ball it up and just pretend it's all right, don't we? So I think particularly for men, journaling is very impactful, and then you can do the. I know people benefit off the gratitude piece and all that type of stuff. So
Mm,
it's amazing this sort of stuff because I don't think these conversations would have been had 15 years ago. Do you know what I mean? I
no.
don't think the you and me, the version of you and me sat here talking about this type of stuff because it does work and there's no fear anymore in saying this sort of stuff, which in itself is a real plus. And I think it links in with that mental health piece, which unfortunately there is a rise, I would still say. And
Mm,
I think that's because the pressures of to society and to be someone now, whether that be
yeah.
social media, mate. And again, what are your thoughts on that mental health piece? Do you see the direct correlation between generational change and increase in mental health? Would you say?
Yeah, I think there's this, keeping up with what I don't know what they say, but where you're from, but we call it keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so so
Uh-huh.
so it's like societal norms and trying to keep up with, what this
Pressures,
perception
yeah,
of the perception of what everyone else is doing, as opposed to just living your own authentic life. And I think with, like you say, go back 15, 20 years, we won't be having this conversation. Well, there was no social media. There was no
nah, you didn't see what the
Facebook.
people had. Yeah,
Yeah, I was quite a late adopter for having a phone. Like for me, if I'm out and about, I'm out.
yeah,
So I don't want contacting.
yeah,
That's why I don't have a phone.
yeah.
So yeah, so there's been quite a shift, hasn't there, in terms of
Uh-huh.
everyone living the best life on Instagram and TikTok and all these platforms, aren't they? That generally you're posting your good pictures, aren't you? The good times that you're
Yeah,
having. So I think for some people that can maybe feel I'm not keeping up with
yeah,
with all that. But I do think that's where things like the journaling, meditation, really getting to know yourself help because I suppose you see all that stuff for what it
yeah,
is, and it's like no, I'm going to do me.
yeah,
I'm going to
yeah.
focus on what's meaningful to me, and that's good enough.
100%. Completely agree. I like to finally ask you, this, okay, Gary, about I guess a lot of stuff we talk about here is leadership and personal journey and the mentality piece. But I guess one thing that's I've seen a real shift in is that the importance of emotional intelligence. And again,
Mm,
something that's probably previously not talked about, it now is a massive part of leadership. And now an academia within leadership is links in with the emotional intelligence piece. If a leader hasn't got a good grasp on that, and perhaps you've helped them realign the values, and it's their first journey into emotional intelligence, how do they start that journey to understand and perhaps reassess that emotional intelligence piece in terms of where they're at? What do you say?
mm. Well, I suppose just like simplify what it is, because I think there's buzzwords, and I think emotional intelligence has potentially become a buzzword. So I think for me, emotional intelligence is about understanding yourself and how you feel, and what's meaningful and important to you and your own values, but also understanding other people. So if where we started our conversation, about leading teams, it you need to be able to understand what makes other people tick and understand that not everyone has the same values. We're all different, and that's brilliant. That we're all unique and different. So I think for emotional intelligence, for me, is about that self-understanding. But I think through the journey of self-understanding, you get to better understand other people. I mean, I had a conversation with someone, is it early this week, late last week, just about some emotions came up for them, and it was a bit scary because they felt out of control. That these emotions started bubbling up, and it isn't it. And to me, this it goes back to the meditation and other things. It's just being comfortable with however you feel, and it's okay to feel sad or happy or angry, or whatever comes up. It's all okay, isn't it? Because it's just
Authentic.
being a human,
Yeah.
that we have a whole spectrum of emotions. But I think with some brilliant work that, Brené Brown's done that's been around for some time, and that's when we numb our emotions, and this is usually what people can relate to, we have vices that we we don't want to feel certain things. So we don't want to feel sad or guilt or shame or inadequate. So we use, drink or drugs or eating or other forms of addiction, which I think work is one of those things for some people. Working too much. So we have these vices that we start numbing, but you can't. So one of the things that Brené Brown always shows is you can't selectively numb. So you can't just say, well, I won't have the bad
Hmm.
feelings, I'll just have the good ones. So when you start numbing, you numb everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it all disappears. So it's how do we support people with, because I'm sure if you're addicted to something, you've got a vice. So how do we help create those spaces that people can be authentic and share openly, that you admit you've got a problem, and then it makes it easier for helping people then, doesn't it? Because it's like, none of us are perfect right now. I know this is me, but if there's a safe enough space that people can say, this is where I am, which I do believe we've got with our peer groups, then it makes it far easier for helping someone, doesn't it? But that's
100%.
that's as I've experienced myself. I'm sure I've as well, Mark. It's very difficult to share some of these things. So you need to feel that this is a really safe environment for me to be open and honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I guess is why you do what you do
Hmm.
ultimately, to to help people create those environments not only for themselves but their teams as well, which is important thing for people listening who have teams,
Hmm.
is that their job isn't always to just inspire and tell people the strategy. It's to create that environment where they can allow them to be how they need to be in the moment, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's safety in the workplace goes beyond the making sure there's no trip hazards. It's
Yeah.
psychological safety, isn't it, as well, that people feel, which is really unfortunate, but so many people feel they can't be themselves at work,
Yeah.
which I think is so sad that we
Hmm.
we're not allowing people to be the whole selves at work. We're
Yeah.
missing out on so much, aren't we, by not creating those environments for people.
100%. Which I guess you take that right back to those reports you read about that staff engagement. How do you engage staff? Let them have a voice and let them be the self,
Hmm.
essentially. Yeah. And then the productivity and the output should in theory follow. But it's not easy. It's not always that simple, is it? It's simple to do a report about it, but the work you're doing and the work people need to start doing themselves, that's where the real change is to change the culture in a business, I guess, essentially, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, if people aren't being open, honest, and sharing openly, you never really know what it is you're dealing with, do you?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think I think that's the real leveler, isn't it? If we're all open, it's a safe enough environment that we can truly say what we think and
Yeah.
feel, then we always know what we're dealing with. There's
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
curveballs or hidden stuff, is there?
Yeah.
It's all out there.
100%.
So we've got to create those right environments to build on. It's a proper solid foundation, isn't it? Like a safe
Yeah.
environment for people is a solid foundation to build on. But
I think people are sometimes worried to get their team together and create an environment which is open because they're
mm,
probably scared of what they might say, which in
mm,
itself is a problem. And that again is dulling down the problem in team because if you're not allowing people to be honest about what the issues are, you're not going to find the solutions for them, are you? It's as simple as that.
yeah. Yeah, well, you
Yeah.
need to be humble, don't you? Not none of
Yeah.
us have got none of us have got it perfect, have we?
Yeah.
Anyone who's leading a team will be open and honest about the things that are working and
Yeah.
the bits that are not. So yeah, you've got to be humble and you've got to say that these are the bits that are not working for me. But I
Yeah.
don't. I think we're probably just lacking those spaces, aren't we, for people to do that? Because you've probably got people who listen to this and say, I would love to have somewhere that I could go and say,
Yeah.
these are some of my problems. But where do you go?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly that. I'll summarize in a second. It's tremendous, Gary, but where can people find you? Or where can people learn more about the Manufacturers Alliance and the work you do? What's the best place to go?
Probably LinkedIn. It's
Okay.
probably the most active. Yeah, yeah. If you search the Manufacturers Alliance or search for me, you'll find what I'm doing and what we're doing.
Yeah, perfect, man. Well, thank you for this because look, it's been really important. I think obviously we have various different episodes on this podcast, and a lot of them are about building businesses, a lot of them about their own unique management journey. But this has felt really important to me because you take everything, your 5K, it was an analogy, it was real, but you take that analogy and you can use that to discuss everything we've talked about starting somewhere to
Mm,
build what you want to build. Whether that be cold showers, where that be meditation, where that be journaling, where that be leading your team, your own emotional intelligence journey. You have to start somewhere and somewhere small, but you also need to know where you're going. And for you, that goal was 5K. Next, it might be a 100K run. Whatever it is, it's your own personal journey, which in
yeah,
itself is also really important. And I think, for me, I always think at this stage of the episode, at the end, where I talk about my own takeaways. I do a lot of the stuff that we talked about here because I've been on that journey. But sometimes when I veer off, I get out of the routine. It's probably because I've probably gone a little bit where I need to be in terms of what is my goal, what strategy, and why am I doing it. And ultimately, I think we need that. We all need, and everyone who works for someone needs to know and understand what they're aiming for. And that might not be a numerical goal for some people. That might be a safe space. That might be a creating environment where they feel that they're progressing their team how they need to progress them and be the leader they want to be authentically. So thanks for this bit, guys. It's been really, really interesting and really powerful. And I love what you do because, as I say, you get people who take people on retreats and so on and so on. That's their thing in different walks of life. You get people who work with manufacturing leaders on strategy. I love the fact you've combined that all together. So you work on them and their leadership, you work on their strategy, but you also challenge them to get out the comfort zone. So hope we haven't given away too many trade secrets. So please make sure you go to the retreat. But
yeah,
but no, thank you, mate. It's been great. Really, really enjoyed it.
yeah. Can I just add
Of
something?
course you can.
Just, I suppose there's the perception when we look on things like LinkedIn, like Google, the Manufacturers Alliance or whatever, and you see the profile of a company and you think, oh, look at this, all the great posts they're doing. And I think sometimes it's a blocker for people to start the journey with, this, whatever the thing is that they need to focus on. I need to develop my leadership skills, or, we need to do something with our strategy or get our people more engaged. Those businesses that you see on LinkedIn that your perception is are doing well are probably in one of our peer groups and saying about all
Yeah.
the challenges they've got. And it's only when people make that leap and do something, I don't say it has to be our peer groups, there's loads of things out there, that people sit there and they say, I can't believe I didn't do this years ago. Because those people that there's the kind of LinkedIn perception.
Yes.
And then there's a reality when you meet the people who run the businesses where it's like, God, they've got just as many
More
problems as we
people.
have.
Exactly that. It's like you're on Instagram. You think the couple are on the Facebook, Instagram for these tremendous things. They're often the ones that break up. You think never saw that coming. Yeah, because people just show one side of their life or the business they want to show. And look, that is business. We have to sell it. But 100% right. You know, it's these are the companies that are working on themselves, whether that be as a business or their own leaders in isolation. So massively, I really hope this episode has just kicked someone on to go, yeah, and I need to realign where we're at or where I'm at, and I'm going to do something about it. And yeah, I know someone listening will do that. I hope they do.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Gary. Thank you so much for listening or watching this episode of the Manufacturing Leaders Podcast. Please just like or subscribe. It really helps grow the show and obviously improve the industry. If you want any more information about Theo James, as I mentioned midway through the episode, please get in touch with me or the team. I would love to talk about how we can help you directly or your business. We are more than just a recruiter, and I know people say that, but it's something I'm incredibly passionate about. We are in business for much more than just a bums on seats approach. We want to help people grow. We want to help improve their lives. And ultimately, I want to work with businesses and people who share the same values as we do. And that's something I'm incredibly passionate about. So please, if that is you and you are passionate about that dream role or passionate about your people, please get in touch with me or the team. I would absolutely love to talk a bit more detail. Thank you very much. Speak soon.